Welcome back, everybody. It's Zach here with bringing you guys another fantasy football video. It's week 13 here. It's Thanksgiving week, so happy Thanksgiving to all of you guys. A bit of a different format this week. We're gonna do all the matchups in one video here. So typically, I split this into two videos. Of course, with Thanksgiving and everything, we want to get it all out to you guys as early as possible. So I'm recording this like noon on Wednesday. So that's about as up to date as of the information that I have. So if there's any updates, of course, I'm having to guess a little bit in terms of what injuries are going to look like, and how who all is going to be active each week. But we get 3 games tomorrow on Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving again to you and all your families. Really thankful for all of you guys. It's why I do this, right? It's a lot of fun helping you guys out there. And then, of course, we also get a Black Friday game. So we've got 4 games earlier this week. Basically, get football every day of the weekend except for Saturday, unless you're a college football fan. But it's going to be a lot of fun. Friendly reminder, as always, but even more important this week with the 3 games on Thursday and the one on Friday. If you're playing players in those games, try to not use your flex spot. You want to give yourself that extra flexibility throughout the rest of the week. We just don't know who all is going to be active come Sunday. So you want to make sure that you've got yourself more positional flexibility, so don't use up a flex spot. Like, for example, in one of my leagues, I have Tyler Warren and Mark Andrews. I love the matchup for Mark Andrews. I'm going to play him this week against Cincinnati. And so Mark Andrews, technically, my flex, I'm going to put him in the tight end spot just in case. Just what if Tyler Warren, rolls an ankle in practice on Friday, can't play on Sunday, and then I've already used my flex spot, and then I'm having to pick up and play a random tight end in my flex or in my tight end spot there. So stuff like that, just give yourself that flexibility just in case something comes up. Let's just get into it. It's going to be a long one. We got no buys, so 16 games to go through. We're going to kick things off with the Packers at the Lions. Should be a fun game. It's a really important game for the Lions, actually. They are currently out of the playoffs if they were to start today. For the Packers, Josh Jacobs, he's back and should be back in lineups. It just slides Emmanuel Wilson right back down onto your bench. Don't drop him, I don't think. He's a guy that obviously has value in weeks where Josh Jacobs ends up missing. And, maybe we see them try and lean on Josh Jacobs a little bit less and incorporate Wilson. So if you were really desperate, you could go there. But the matchup's not great here. I don't want to do that. I'm also totally fine just benching every single other Packer. Jordan Love, low-end streaming option. I don't really want to play him. Christian Watson's probably the wide receiver I would play if I had to, but it's more of a flex play. It doesn't get me very excited there. Then Jaden Reed, I want to roster him. We want to see how he's going to do, but he's a desperation flex at best. If he returns, just not someone that I'm really excited to play there. For the Lions, Gibbs and Amon-Ra, those two are in, but that's probably it here. The Packers are a phenomenal defense. We're not seeing enough usage out of David Montgomery to play him. Jared Goff, again, this Packers defense is just shut down several quarterbacks in a row. I know it was J.J. McCarthy last week, but the week before that they held Jalen Hurts down. It's just a legitimately good defense, so you don't want to do that. Jameson Williams, you can play him. I'm in one league. I'm playing him. Probably I'm torn between him and Quentin Johnston. But you're playing for a big play, right? The floor is incredibly low here. There's a lot of risk. I get it if you want to play him. Fun to have a guy in a game on Sunday or on Thursday, but it's just tough. He's coming off a goose. I'm not necessarily worried about that, right? Like, we know that he's got a very wide range of outcomes every single week, but the matchup's really what scares me, and I just don't know if we're going to get into a shootout sort of a game here. Next, we get another fun one. We get the Chiefs at the Cowboys. A huge game for both these teams. Honestly, if either one loses, they're probably not going to make the playoffs, but if either one wins, they've got a decent shot at maybe making noise later on. So hopefully both teams show up. Hopefully we get a shootout in this one. For the Chiefs, Mahomes, Rice, and Kelsey are all going to be in for me. You can also flex Xavier Worthy if you need to. I would personally play him over any Packers wide receiver if that's the sort of decision you're looking at. Kareem Hunt, low-end running back 2 here. We're going to get Isaiah Pacheco back. I still think I want to play Kareem Hunt over him just because he's got the goal line role. Passing downs are sort of going to Brashard Smith still. Pacheco's just going to get used between the 20s on first and second down. It's not a very valuable role, but it does lower the ceiling for Kareem Hunt and the floor, of course. If you don't get a touchdown, you're probably not going to be happy there. For the Cowboys, CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, those two are in every single week. Javonte Williams, he's in as well. I know he hasn't scored a touchdown in the last couple weeks, but you can't bench him. Then Dak and Ferguson, they're lower end options for me. I think you can certainly play them both, but it's not a great matchup here against Kansas City. They obviously overcame it last week against the Eagles, so you can play both those guys, but there's just, of course, risk. This game could also turn into a bit of a slugfest, honestly, on the defensive side of the ball. Like, the Cowboys' defense has improved a lot lately with the additions of Quinn and Williams. You can't really run on them very well. Like, they're playing pretty well, and then the Chiefs' defense, we know they're good. So I think there's a pretty wide range of outcomes in terms of what kind of game environment we get here, and if this ends up being a lower scoring game, you're probably not going to like that you play Dak or Ferguson here. Thursday night, we get the Bengals at the Ravens. Hopefully we get a shootout in this one as well. We get the return of Joe Burrow, so that should be fun. But that being said, I'm not going to play Joe Burrow. The Ravens defense has been really good lately. Burrow, first game back off of injury, you'd expect him to ramp up a little bit. We see him start slow at the start of every season, so it would be fair to assume that he'll start slow right when he comes back here. I don't want to play him if I can avoid that. Chase Brown, Jamar Chase, really the only two Bengals that I want to play. Even Chase Brown, you might get Samaje Perine back in this one, which has actually been a big deal. The expected fantasy points per game for him are 5 points per game higher without Samaje Perine on the field. I think they'll still use Chase Brown more than they were using him before Perine got hurt, but it's just a little bit iffier there. If you had like a really stacked running back group, I could be okay benching Chase Brown. And then Jamar Chase, you're playing him, of course, with no T. Higgins. If you really want to look at a guy like Gesicki or Yoshi Voss, they're both in play, but you don't need to play either one of those guys. For the Ravens, just the matchup's so good that even though Lamar's been bad, you're playing him, Derrick Henry, and Zay Flowers. And then I really want to play Mark Andrews in this one as well. The Bengals are just far and away the worst pass defense in the NFL against the tight end. Honestly, against everybody, but especially against the tight end. We just saw Hunter Henry put up a tight end 1 performance last week. Go back a few weeks, they gave up touchdowns to all 3 tight ends for the Steelers. They cannot cover the tight end spot. Mark Andrews, I like him enough here. I think he scores a touchdown. I'd be playing him. I'm flexing him in a league over Quentin Johnson, if that helps you guys. Then on Friday, we get the Bears at the Eagles. So again, Friday game. Make sure you're ready for that one there. For the Bears, not a single one of them really has me excited. It's been really hit or miss for Rome Odunze, and the Eagles are a phenomenal defense. I still think you're playing Odunze, but just, we're getting a wide range of outcomes here. He's kind of like a slightly more consistent Jameson Williams right now. DeAndre Swift, low-end running back 2. He and Kyle Monangai are rotating drives. So last week, just things went better for Monangai. Swift did fumble. I don't think that's really going to be a huge deal, but just keep an eye on it. I would still play DeAndre Swift over Kyle Monangai, but I get it either way. Neither one gets me excited in a really tough matchup like this. And then Colston Loveland, he's obviously getting more involved, but again, the matchup's so bad, I don't really want to go there. Caleb Williams as well. Again, the matchup's just brutal. I don't really want to play him if I can avoid it. For the Eagles, though, Hurts, A.J. Brown, Saquon, and Devonta Smith would all be in my lineup. And then Dallas Goedert, lower end tight end 1, you can play him, but you also don't have to. It just sort of depends on what your options are. Not a must start, but not a guy that you have to sit either. We get a quick one here. We got the Saints at the Dolphins. For the Saints, Chris Olave is the only Saint that I want to play. Devin Neal slots in as like a lower end running back 2 if you have to go there. If you picked him up, you're probably playing him. Then Juwan Johnson, lower end tight end option as well. Outside of that, nobody for the Saints really belongs on lineups. For the Dolphins, Devon Achane probably going to be the running back 1 this week. I mean, that's obviously a bold take, but the Saints are not a very good defense at all. Devon Achane's playing phenomenal. Off the bye, I like Achane a lot this week. Same thing with Jalen Waddle, you're putting him in, and then that's probably it for the Dolphins. If you want to keep an eye on things with Darren Waller, I don't think he'll be back this week. I wouldn't play him even if he is, but there's a chance that he ends up being relevant at some point here, so just keep an eye on him. Next up, we've got the Texans at the Colts, and what's actually a pretty meaningful game, right? The Texans have really turned their season around here. They have won the last 3 without C.J. Stroud, but it does sound like C.J. Stroud will be back for this one, just in time to go to Indianapolis. So a tough scene there for C.J. Stroud. Could honestly you're going to hear headlines if he comes back and they lose, because they'll have gone 3-0 without him and then lost right when he comes back. But that being said, Nico Collins, he's in your lineup. Woody Marks, low-end running back 2 for me. He's clearly taken over this backfield. He's okay, right? He's not a fantastic player. This offense is obviously not very good, but he's getting enough work that you can certainly consider using him. And then outside of that, there's nobody really on the Texans I want to look at. You'd have to be pretty desperate to play Jaden Higgins. Dalton Schultz, same sort of thing. You'd have to be pretty desperate. There is upside there. It could be a shootout, but the Texans' defense is so good, I just don't really expect shootouts very often. And Dalton Schultz, most of his production this season has been with Davis Mills. For the Colts, Jonathan Taylor, Tyler Warren, both those guys are in no matter what every single week. Michael Pittman, he's a low-end wide receiver 3 for me. You can play him, but of course, just remember, this Texans defense is probably the best defense in the NFL. We could easily see a lower-scoring game here, so that does scare me. And because of that, I don't really want to play Daniel Jones or Alec Pierce in this one. I think you can just look for some better options this week, especially with nobody on bye. Next, we got the Falcons at the Jets. So for the Falcons, Bijan is in every single week. I know it's not exactly as exciting without the rest of the players on their offense playing. It makes it really tough for him to go out there and have ceiling games, but you're still playing him. The matchup's phenomenal here. If you're desperate, you can play Kyle Pitts or Darnell Mooney. It sounds like we're going to get one more week without Drake London, which is obviously not great, but I think you can play them, but of course there's not a whole lot of excitement in doing that ever. For the Jets, Breece Hall, he's in every single week. And then if you have to play somebody else, I think John Mechie is the wide receiver I would look at. Clearly just playing better than a guy like Adonai Mitchell. Talented player, just never really got an opportunity yet in the NFL. He had to miss his first year with cancer, and then you had Tank Dell, Stephon Diggs, Nico Collins all there last year. I just was never really given a great shot to show out. So maybe there's talent there. He looks to be the wide receiver one with Garrett Wilson out. You could play him, but I don't want to do it there. Next, we've got the 49ers at the Browns. For the Niners, CMC and Kittle, those two are in. That's going to be it for me. Ricky Pearsall is just sort of not doing anything. I would need to see it before I trust him in my lineup. Juwan Jennings, more of like a lower tier flex play that's sort of matchup dependent, and this is one of the worst matchups you can have against the Browns, and there's just no way I'm playing Brock Purdy after last week. And then for the Browns, Quinshon Judkins, pretty much every single week is the only guy you want to play. If you have to get desperate with one of the tight ends, it'd be Harold Fannin. I don't really want to go there. It's going to be Judkins and nobody else for the Browns, probably until until the end of the year. Now we got the Rams at the Panthers. For the Rams, it's pretty easy. You're going to play Kyren, Puka, Adams, and Stafford every single week. Kyren finally had a down game last week. You are seeing him split drives with Blake Corum, so that's obviously a bit of a disappointment. And then, Adams is doing the goal line touchdowns, which sucks too. So the upside's not necessarily there for Kyren, but you're still playing him every single week. It's like a lower end running back one. If you have to, Colby Parkinson, lower end streaming option at the tight end spot. With Tyler Higbee on IR, he's clearly taken over as the lead tight end. Terrence Ferguson, I like him a lot as a rookie, but just not on the field or not doing enough to trust him there. For the Panthers, Rico and T-Mac or Tet McMillan, you're playing both of those guys. Even off of a down week for both those guys, I don't know what the Panthers' game plan was last week to only give Rico 6 carries. Tet, 7 targets last week. That's not horrible given how little they had the ball. Just didn't work out. Still got a touchdown. You can play him. This could easily be a game where they're trailing and having to come back in. So you could do that, and that's going to be it. You're not going to play Coker. You're not going to play Leggett. Bryce Young, you're never going to play here, especially in this matchup. So just those two and call it a day there. Now we got the Jaguars at the Titans. For the Jaguars, Travis Etienne, he is in every single week right now. He's just playing really well. We saw last week that this is clearly still his backfield, even though Tootin sort of was coming on the week before. This is going to be Etienne's backfield until we see otherwise. Brian Thomas Jr. should return in this one. I think you can play him as like a wide receiver 3. It's not an exciting play, right? But there's obviously upside there. I think I would prefer to have the luxury of waiting to see how he does before I throw him in my lineup. But you can't always do that, right? It depends on what your roster is looking like. If you need him right now, then you just play him and pray that the last couple of weeks let him. Like, it was an ankle injury, but that was kind of a newer injury. It seemed like he had a shoulder and wrist injury that was just sort of nagging for a while. Maybe the few weeks off, let him heal everything, right? So maybe he comes back and just is the healthiest he's been at any point this season. So that's at least in the range of outcomes here. I would at least consider him as somebody you can play and just hope for the upside there. Brenton Strange, low-end tight end option. You can play him if you have to. And then both Jacoby Myers and Parker Washington are just like lower-end flex plays. I don't love it. I think this is a game they'll win pretty handily and not need to throw it a ton, and you kind of need volume for either one of those guys. So I don't love it, but they're available if you have to. And then for the Titans, Chimere DK is the only player I would ever really look at right now. Playing really well, you can play him if your league rewards kickoff or punt return yards. My home league does every 25 yards as a point. Which, by the way, if you're going to do that, do it that way. I see some leagues that do like every 10 yards as a point. That's too much. A kickoff return touchdown ends up being, just kickoff returns end up being 3 points per kickoff. It's a little much, but regardless, if you're going to do that, DK is obviously an option. He's also still just clearly the best wide receiver. I think you can play him if you have to. The next game here is the Cardinals at the Bucks. For the Cardinals, Jacoby Brissett probably in. He's the quarterback 3 since he took over as the starter, and this matchup does not scare me, so I would play him. McBride and Marvin Harrison Jr. should be back this week. I'd play both of those guys, and honestly, I don't mind playing Michael Wilson. He's clearly a good player. Right? You can't just go out there and do what he did the last 2 weeks without being good. And I think they're going to want to use him more. Brissett's doing enough. Like we saw Greg Dortch be useful over the last couple of weeks. Michael Wilson should be able to do more than what Dortch was doing, so you can play him. And then I would sit all the Arizona running backs. You got Bam Knight banged up a little bit last week. Trey Benson might return. Even if he does, I think Trey Benson would be the play, but I don't want to play him. I want to see how the backfield shakes out before I throw him in my lineup, especially on a week with no buys. I think we can do a little bit better there. For the Bucks, Bucky Irving is back, and I would just play him. But outside of that, Emeka Egbuka is probably in, but it's been really rough for him, obviously, and you might have to deal with a Teddy Bridgewater start, which is far from exciting. Even if Baker plays, I'm not going to play Baker. You're with that shoulder injury, you're one hit away from him being out. And I'm not going to play any other pass catcher because they just didn't look very good last week. Anyway, Godwin, not good enough right now, not playing well. Tez Johnson, just too boomer bust. I don't want to go there. So it's going to be Bucky is in for sure. Egbuka, maybe you have better options, so you could look elsewhere, but he's a guy that I'm okay playing, and that's going to be it for the Bucks. Next up, we've got the Vikings at the Seahawks. For the Vikings, I'm probably not going to have J.J. McCarthy in this one. He's in concussion protocol. Honestly, that could be a blessing the way he's been playing. But Aaron Jones, low-end running back 2 here. Justin Jefferson, he's a flex play, but you're playing him, right? You're hoping you get better quarterback play out of the new guy. Even if you don't, Jefferson, he's getting everything for them at least, so he should be usable enough, but it's just not exciting, of course. For the Seahawks, JSN, he's a must-start. Kenneth Walker, he'd be in for me as well. We sort of saw a changing of the guard last week. They did finally make an effort to give him the majority of the touches. So you're playing him. And then Sam Darnold, kind of a revenge game here for him, going hosting the Vikings here. Gets to play his former team from last year. Low-end quarterback 1 for me. I'd be a little bit concerned because this Vikings defense is still talented. They can turn it up. They can really blitz. And if Darnold is under pressure, we've still seen him struggle at times this year. So there's obviously risk there, but if you want to play him, I don't mind it this week. Next, we've got the Bills at the Steelers. For the Bills, it's going to be Josh Allen and James Cook, and that is it. I can't trust any of the pass catchers right now. I can't tell you right now if Keon Coleman's going to be active. Same thing with Dalton Kincaid. If Kincaid came back, you could maybe play him, but it's just tough to play a guy coming off a hamstring injury. We see it happen too often where you get a re-aggravation early and you leave with a 0. So that scares me enough that I'd probably be okay rostering Kincaid, but I don't want to play him. And then for the Steelers, Jaylen Warren, low-end running back 2 here. You could throw Gainwell in if you need to as well, but of course it's just not exciting. You're in a mediocre offense with a split backfield there. And then as far as the pass catchers go, DK Metcalf, you can play him, but I wouldn't be doing that confidently. He's more of like a low-end wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 type. But, got a good shot to score any given week. You get Rodgers back this week in all likelihood as well, so you can play him. It's just not exactly exciting. Next up, we get the Raiders at the Chargers. The Raiders fired Chip Kelly this week, so it's tough to know exactly what the offense is going to look like. But even with that, Brock Bowers, he's in for sure. Ashton Genty, he's in, but it's tough. You had him leave the game last week with an injury. It sounds like he should be okay, but the Chargers defense, really good. Genty has not been able to run the ball very effectively lately, so you just need him to get it done through the air. He has been doing that, so I still think you can play him. It's just obviously not exciting. For the Chargers, Amarian Hampton, it sounds like he's going to be back this week. Greg Roman came out and said they're going to employ a sort of 1-2 punch between him and Vidal. So you're going to get a bit of a split backfield there. If you have to play one of them, it is still Hampton, but he's obviously not going to get all the work, so that's obviously not what you want. He's a low-end running back 2 for me here. It's a great matchup there against the Raiders. Great shot to score. This game could easily be a super lopsided matchup, and then I would feel okay about playing Hampton there, but you don't have to. I think generally speaking, teams that have him, they have other options as well. Like in one of my leagues, I've got Travion, Chase Brown, and Hampton. I'm going to be playing Travion and Chase Brown over Hampton just to give myself a week there. But, of course, it just depends on what your roster looks like. I don't mind throwing them into your lineup if you have to. Ladd McConkey, Justin Herbert, those guys are both in. Aronde Gadsden, Quentin Johnston, and Keenan Allen. All of them are borderline plays. I have no problem playing any of them, but I have no problem sitting any of them either, right? So Gadsden, if you have Gadsden and Mark Andrews, I'd play Mark Andrews over him this week. Quentin Johnson, more of like a boomer bust flex play. He's right in that Jameson Williams tier. And then Keenan Allen, right in that Parker Washington tier, right? A kind of guy that can go out there and get you 5 for 70. Maybe you get lucky with a touchdown. If you don't, you'll probably be a little bit upset, but he's not going to goose you. So you could play him if you have to as well. Next, we got the Sunday night game here. We got the Broncos at the Commanders. Not exactly an exciting Sunday night game. For the Broncos, RJ Harvey, he's in a really slow linebacker group here for the Commanders, so Harvey should have success getting to the outside. I think they'll give him more work, post-bye rookie bump. I feel good about him there. Again, the Commanders' defense is not good, so I feel good about Bo Nix and Cortland Sutton. And then, honestly, Troy Franklin is a guy that you could play as well here. For the Commanders, it's honestly okay to bench every single one of them this week. I probably would do that, even if we get McLaurin back. We're not going to have Jaden McDaniels back this week, so it just means that you're looking at a backup quarterback throwing to, McLaurin off an injury, Debo who's playing banged up, Noah Brown might be back this week as well, against a really good Broncos defense. You can't run on them, you can't throw on them. I want to hold guys like Terry McLaurin. I think he should be on rosters. If he got dropped earlier, he's a guy that I'd be looking to add, but I don't want to play him this week against the Broncos without Jaden Daniels, but just someone to hold on to and see if you get something out of in the playoffs here. And the Monday night game here, we get the Giants at the Patriots. For the Giants, we should get Jackson Dart back in this one, and I don't mind just throwing him right back into your lineup. Just make sure that you get clarity and confirmation that he's going to play before you do that. You'd hate to bench everybody on Sunday with him still being a question mark, and then obviously just be stuck playing. I guess if you have Jameis, that'd be fine too. But just make sure you have a play in there. You don't want to eat a zero at the quarterback spot. Tyrone Tracy, Wan'Dale Robinson, both lower end plays that I feel decent about. And then Theo Johnson, like a lower tier streaming option. I'd prefer not to play him, but there's obviously at least a path there. For the Patriots, Drake May is in. Travion Henderson, he's in as well. The Giants, we just saw what Jahmyr Gibbs did to them. Not that Henderson is as good as Jahmyr Gibbs, but they're similar type players. The Giants have been really bad against the run. I feel great about Henderson this week. Stephon Diggs, he'd be in my lineup as well. And then Hunter Henry, like a lower end streaming option. Last week was phenomenal. I'd play Hunter Henry over Theo Johnson and stuff, but he's not like a must start even though he was awesome last week. It was against the Bengals. So that'll do it for the starts and sits this week. Next, I'll see you guys on Monday with the waiver wire videos, so stay tuned for that one. If you guys have any specific questions or start sit questions for me, let me know in the comments below. I'll do my best to get back to you guys before the games kick off, as well as just hopefully you guys have a great Thanksgiving with you and your families. Enjoy the time off, enjoy the football. Appreciate all you guys. Super thankful for you guys, and thanks for helping me do this and all that. So appreciate you guys, and I will catch you guys with the next one. Peace. Thank you guys for watching. If you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, check out these other videos here if you haven't. If you want more content, please feel free to follow me on Twitter at RealSteelFFB. I'll be more active on there as the season goes on. Thanks. Catch you later.